So ladies and gentlemen, we're going to be having our next session starting off in a few more seconds. If you're inside the ballroom, grab a seat. If you're outside, we want to encourage you to come on in. Don't forget, you can sit all the way in the front. There are empty seats at the tables in front. If you're wondering where it is, it's right over here. You see? This table, there's no one here. You can sit right here, up front and center. There's no VIP reserved seats, guys. If you see the table unoccupied, you can just sit yourself there and make yourself comfortable. And of course, that'll make it easier for you to interact with the speakers later on if you want to, or catch them for some side discussions, all right? This table over here as well is empty. So come on down to the front. We shouldn't have anybody sitting at the last few rows of seats behind, yeah? Come on down. Come on down, come on down, come on down. Make yourself comfortable. For those of you who are already inside the ballroom, you can start to take your seats. Don't worry, there's going to be plenty of time to network later on. Once again, for those of you at the back, try and sit in front. You know why? Because we want to keep the back rows unoccupied, so in case anyone comes in later, they won't interrupt the program by, fiddling their way all the way to the front. They can just occupy the chairs there. So come on down to the front if you can. And we'll be starting in just a few more seconds. All right, please be seated. And of course, don't forget to switch your mobile devices to silent mode. We're going to be kicking off any second now. So for those of you who are just joining us, come on in and grab a seat right in front. That's where you can get up close and personal to some of the action on stage. That's right. Going to be starting any second now. For those of you who are still outside, come on in. You can bring your whatever it is you're sipping on and your snacks as well. Just come on in, make yourself comfortable. Plenty of space in front, guys. Don't crowd at the back. Come in front so it makes it easier for everybody to flow in later on during the program, all right? So come on down and occupy some of the seats in front. Plenty of space at our tables in the first 2 rows. All right, we're going to be starting off in just a couple of seconds. So everyone, if you're here, please be seated. Grab a seat, make yourself comfortable. There's actually quite a bit of space in the first 2 rows of tables here. And as spoken, we shouldn't have anyone leaning against the door because there's plenty of space in front. So no need to stand or sit all the way in the back. There's plenty of space right here. And we're going to start in just a few more seconds. If you're already inside the ballroom, we appreciate your help and cooperation to sit down. Don't worry, there's going to be plenty of time to network later on during lunch. We also have an afternoon break and of course our cocktails in the evening. So plenty of time for networking. Grab a seat. We're going to start off in just a few more seconds. All right. Without further ado, welcome back. We're going to be jumping into our session, Unlocking Indonesia's Potential, Integrating Tech, Enablement, Capital Solutions, and Partnerships. Now, before I invite our esteemed panelists on stage, please take a scan of the QR code. If you have any questions, just scan the QR code right over here, and you can send your questions to our esteemed panelists for this session. And without further ado, please join me to welcome our panelists for our session coming up. Let's welcome Stefanus Hadiwidjaja, Chief Investment Officer, Indonesia Investment Authority. We also want to invite Ming, Partner, Granite Asia. And of course, they are joined by Pandu Sjahrir, Managing Partner, Indies Capital Partners, Founding Partner, AC Ventures, Vice President Director, TBS Energi Utama. Let's welcome Stefanus, Ming, and Pandu. And of course, moderating the session is none other than our founder and editor-in-chief for DealStreetAsia, Mr. Joji Thomas Philip. And of course, looking forward to an exciting discussion on unlocking Indonesia's potential, integrating tech enablement, capital solutions, and partnerships. Without further ado, Joji, over to you.
Thank you, Wayne. Thank you all for joining us back after a quick coffee break. Again, we are running a bit late, so let's get dive straight in. This is one of our most important sessions, and my sincere thanks to Pandu. He was there with us last evening also for the pre-summit party. Ming, thank you for coming down. Despite your accident, thank you for traveling to Jakarta. Stefanus, good to have you back. If you can just take maybe 30 seconds each to introduce yourselves, it'll be great for audience and we get into the discussion. We're going to be talking about the potential for Indonesia, and all of them going to be, unique insights in the way they look at the country going forward. So Stefanus, would start with you. If you can just.
Hi everyone. Thank you to Joji, to DealStreetAsia for the invitation and for this opportunity. I'm Stefanus. I'm the CIO of INE. INE is the Sovereign Wealth Fund of Indonesia, Indonesia Investment Authority, with the focus to invest and in Indonesia to bring in capital from global or local to co-invest with us. That's our unique mandate.
Yeah. Ming?
Hi. Hi, everyone. My name is Ming. I'm a partner at Granite Asia. And thank you, Joji, and the DealStreetAsia team for putting together such a wonderful event. So I think some of you may know that I have been investing in Indonesia for, I think, 10, 15 years. So very fortunate to be able to see the growth and the changes in the market. And then also very privileged to have worked on transactions with both Stefanus and Pandu's team. So I think now I lead the private credit business for Granite Asia. Granite formerly is known as GGV Capital Asia. And we are basically a multi-asset platform that invests across equity and debt. And we're headquartered in Singapore. So we cover the whole Asia, and Indonesia has always been the cornerstone of our strategy. Throughout our 25 years history, we have created 100 unicorns and 60 IPOs. And now I think working across tech, consumers, and logistic and various sectors. I think what we have realized is now that scaling up the business require not only equity, and that's why now we also have private credit to be able to help all the companies and partners grow.
Hello everyone, my name is Pandu. I have two businesses. One is Energi, called TBS, publicly listed in 2012. And the focus now is on energy transition. Three main business there. One is a joint venture with Goto called Electrum. It's a JV. Number two, renewable energy. One of them that I think people have heard is trying to build solar panel to support Singapore. And then number three is waste management. Recently we announced the acquisition of Waste. So those living in Singapore, we are here to help clean your home, right? Clean your airport. So that's our job. The second business is investment manager, asset management. We have a company called Indies, which has private credit and private equity. In the private equity, mostly buyouts, acquisitions, so a bunch of the Indies guys, our team. And also in private credit, doing mostly mezzanine. I think it's quite a big team in the credit side. I think 10, 11 investment professionals. Some partners are here as well, mostly focusing on the region. And the last one, the youngest one, is a company called AC Venture that does venture capital investing. Now in its Fund 5, there's a couple of our partners. I think Helen is here, and Helen is there. I know Helen will be speaking too here. And we are going not just from seed now all the way to growth. So when you look at minority stakes, etc., please talk to Helen and the team. And obviously we just closed the Fund 5 last year, so I think Helen has a lot of dry powder available for investment.
Yeah, thank you, Pandu. Thank you all the panelists for the introductions. Pandu, I'll start with you, sticking to our theme. If you were to look at one sector or one or two sectors in Indonesia for this year, what would it be in terms of tech enablement? Or just the hottest sectors that you would want to put your capital into this in Indonesia this year?
I haven't put capital yet. I should put first, then tell you. But okay, fine. I would say the most exciting for me is anything related to energy transition. Why? Because of what's happening today, especially in California. I don't know if you guys have, we have a couple of people, unfortunately, lost their place in California. Imagine a democratic state that really believes in climate change. Suddenly, with climate change, it's losing 200, 300 billion of economic losses. So I really do believe climate change and what's happening there is significant. And with Indonesia specifically, energy transition is a big theme. So when I mention what that means, right? Anything moving from fossil fuel to non-fossil fuel. Yesterday, the government announced that all the source of energy will 70% plus will come from renewable. So anything to do with solar panel, wind, etc. is very interesting. When you talk about the usage of AI, there's a lot of it actually in the upstream side in terms of exploration and exploitation. So how do you use that better than where we are today. And then lastly, when you talk about, what is it called? Downstreaming. I know it's been a very success story for Indonesia the last decade, but still we're in the early stage of that. There's a lot of potential happening, especially in the battery technology. So those are, big ticket items. Lastly, when you talk in Toba, now we do this, E equals MC square. Now we call it E equals AI. Why? Because when you talk about data center, what do you need? One, source of renewable energy, and number two, clean water. Indonesia has it more than some of our neighbors, right? So I know the neighbor always get the story, but to be honest, in Indonesia, there's been such a significant demand happening in data center quietly, and that's something we've been aggressively investing the last 3 quarters.
Yeah. Ming, you spoke about investing in Indonesia, GGV Granite Asia for the last decade and a half. What are you bullish on when it comes to Indonesia?
Definitely agree with Pandu on the energy transition. And then also I think another sector which we think, especially on the tech enablement topic, healthcare, right? We know there's a lot of room for growth and there's still a lot of room. And we have seen really great developments in the infrastructure for, like hospitals and all the supporting infrastructure. I think now tech will also play a big part, like for example, digital health platform, AI diagnostic technology coming in. I think one area that Indonesia is still trying to work on is the human capital to be able to manage these healthcare growth. And I think technology can play, at least in the midterm, to be able to help with that and then be able to make healthcare more accessible and affordable for the public.
Yeah. Thanks, Ming. Stefanus, INA had recently said that it was expanding its scope in terms of investment options in Indonesia in line with the government's ambitious target to hit 8% growth. So which are the new sectors that you are going to be looking at or investing in?
Yeah, I think it's a really aggressive target by the government that we want to support. The existing sector itself is still so many things that we can expand, talking about infrastructure, digital, healthcare, renewable energy transition, right? Within the digital itself, a lot of focus on the digital infrastructure as the tech enablement. The new area that new sectors, not really new, but I mean, we are put more focus now is the expansion of our EV ecosystem pillars, which is part of our green investment pillar, in critical minerals. So there's one area. So we want to really support the government ambition on the downstreaming. So nickel for sure, but we are thinking about other minerals, like we have a live project now in lithium, and not on the upstream part because we don't have that resources. But what we want is to do the downstreaming of that mineral in Indonesia. We are looking into copper and a few other key commodities, critical minerals. The second is food and agri. This is a big focus of the government. It's a very broad sector, actually. If you talk food and agri, I'm still new in the sector. It's so complex, from the upstream, processing, distribution, retail, and so on, right? We're still assessing which commodity that we want to focus on, with the goal of course, given our mandate, it has to be commercial and has to be bring in a capital partner to co-invest with us, but also help achieve some of the food security goals of the government. Could be in the dairy farming sector, or even going back further on the input of the production, for example, in seed and so on, right? So we're still reviewing, but these are the 2 new area, but doesn't mean the initial 4 key area. We actually even expanding more into this, subsector within these 4 key pillars that we initially have invested in.
Yeah, just a quick follow-on question, Stefanus. You recently signed a deal with INA where you will both of you will invest 1.2 billion into the tech scene.
With Granite.
With Granite, investing 1.2 billion, and you have similar deals with other global players. How does this move the needle in terms of Indonesia's economic growth?
So back to our mandate that we want to build partnership. We want to bring global capital and global expertise to come to Indonesia. That's why we're doing all this partnership. And our investment strategy itself is a multi-asset class. We are country-focused, Indonesia, but in terms of asset class, we are quite broad. We have the infrastructure asset class, we have private equity, we have private debt. That's also one of the deals that being mentioned by Ming. We also have real estate investment as an asset class, right? Even from the perspective of tenure, we have more like a short-term, medium-term investment. We have a medium and long-term investment. We have a super long investment, like let's say toll road concession, which is like 30 to 50 years concession. So it's quite broad in terms of the asset class and the way we allocate the capital. But investment team, we are only 20, 25 people. So the way we execute this strategy is through partnership, because we want to bring in not only the capital, but also the know-how. That's why we create many different partnerships, including with Granite, focus more on the tech enabling industries, mainly in private debt, with Ming's division within Granite, but we are also open to do equity. We partner with Allianz, we partner with Strategy Corporation, for example, with Swire Group in healthcare. So we try to broaden our partnership, but the goal is the same, as per our mandate, to help us execute all the different asset class that we want to invest in and to bring in capital to Indonesia.
Sure. Ming, when we look at our industry, traditionally there's PE, there's VC, there's debt, but at GGV now Granite, Jenny's been talking about looking at the whole investments outside the traditional ways, looking at bespoke solutions or coming up with new structures. What are these new structures? Because these are very established ways of investing. There's a fund structure, there's a VC represents something, P represents. So what are you doing differently?
Okay. So I think, what we're seeing, I think both from the equity and private debt side, is the world become more complex, right? Not only sometimes the companies need equity, sometimes the companies actually at the stage need debt, but sometimes they need something in between. Sometimes it's a hybrid capital, sometimes it's a combination. So that's where we think the opportunities will be, especially on, as you mentioned, on the tech enablement side in Southeast Asia. We do see a really strong opportunity going forward. I think twofold. One, we know there have been a lot of changes in the past 5 years. Right? You look at the macro, geopolitics, rates, but one thing very important, technology, right? There has been a lot of developments in the space. And starting from the private credit side, I've been in performing credit for a long time and working with the companies in Asia. They're all asking themselves, what do we do to be able to look at the changes? Twofold. One is the challenges or risks. Like you need to think about, do I need these technology to be able to stay competitive, right? So they are asking themselves that question. The second one is now technology coming in. For some of these business, actually it's a lot of opportunities, right? Margin constrained business. Now can we rethink about how the technology can change the margin? We don't really necessarily need to stick to what we are used to do things. There can be things to reconsider and then redesign. And all this make all the traditional business are also transforming. And I think that will be most apparent in the traditional Southeast Asia space. We see a lot of opportunities to do that. And I think on the equity side, of course, that when the rates are low, the companies have a lot of ability to take capital to grow, right? And the public market was open. They actually value the growth and potential growth at almost all costs. And now with rates coming up, I think people start to think about how do we actually deliver the growth and also at the same time on a scale profitability as well. So both become more as a consideration for companies, tech or non-tech, right? And I think that also create opportunity because the companies now need to think about how do I put my innovation. There are a lot of great innovation happen in the last few years, and how do I actually make it become, to be practical and be able to make money out of it. And what we see, Granite Asia sees, this is a great time for kind of investing here in Southeast Asia, as well as to build a partnership. Because this become partnership between tech and non-tech business, because both of them are looking for each other, and then to see how we can create an ecosystem, be able to connect the traditional with the tech. And this can be through equity and through debt. Also, the various sectors that we think there are a lot of opportunities is a partnership between private and public, because a lot of this you need to be able to work all together to be able to deliver the growth that we're looking for. I think the third one is to really connect all the capitals, right? Bank capital, from the traditional lenders, banks, private equity, VC, and all the different asset class, because you don't necessarily have to be in the same capital structure, but necessarily in the same time of investment. But with the ecosystem all coming together, and we all play different parts of the capital structure, but when we actually all look at this economy and trying to grow it, that's when the whole economy and all our thesis will be, we can actually accelerate the growth and accelerate to help the companies to grow in this region.
Yeah. Pandu, just related to that, are Indonesian companies and businesses aware or even ready for all of these kind of hybrid, capital solutions? And yesterday you said most people don't even know the difference between equity or can't do credit.
No. What I say is that when you talk about equity and credit, there is actually a significant talent gap. Not many people are driven in credit. Most people are driven in the equity world, right? So in our business, Henley's business, right, for example, one of our partners in credit, we always underwrite astaghfirullah case. Astaghfirullah. We never underwrite alhamdulillah case. And that's a credit mindset. The credit only cares what can go wrong. But typically, right, for example, in the venture capital business, we are always underwriting risks in terms of on the upside. Venture capital risk, it's venture. So different mindset, right? So when you talk about hybrid capital, it's almost like, as a capital provider, when we go down, at least, I get my capital protected. And if I go up, at least profit sharing, right? Essentially, from a capital provider perspective. Not many companies can do hybrid. In my personal view, you have to be mature, knowing exactly what that capital provider is giving you. So for example, in my personal view, we always typically underwrite a hybrid capital to those with an EBITDA of 50 to 100 million minimum. EBITDA. Why? Because our counterparty is sophisticated enough. And I would tell our guys, don't sell products, essentially, to guys that don't understand it. There is a karma behind this, right? It's important. In our business and credit, we are in the business of helping others. We are not in the business of loan to own. Very important, loan to help, not loan to own. Because if you don't use this wisely and you sell it to non-sophisticated counterparties, you essentially are there to own the business. This is fundamental different, okay? So when you talk about hybrid capital, it's our responsibility as investors giving it to the proper counterparty for us to be a sustainable enterprise. Fundamental, okay? So hopefully this answers your question. In our business, whatever we do today will reflect our reputation 5 years, 10 years down the road. We are here for the long term, so our behavior now will not be known now, not the next DealStreetAsia, but 3 years, 5 years down the road. So as investors, we have to be very responsible to the people that we give capital to.
Yeah. Pandu, not exactly related, but because you spoke about reputation and all of that, we had Patrick earlier, he was speaking about what happened, some of the scandals, this thing. Or the so-called accounting fraud. As venture capital investors, how do you sort of, take responsibility and catch all of these much before it reaches the current, some of these, and it's not Indonesia specific, that what we're seeing in several Southeast Asian countries.
This is not just Indonesia, anywhere. in America to anywhere, doesn't matter. So you asked me this question last night. I think it shocked a little bit of people, but I'll repeat it for the purpose of everyone. At the end of the day, what happened the last couple of years, I spoke with Helen too, I spoke with a couple of the guys. At the end, for me, it is my fault what happened. Our fault as investors. We allow it to happen. You know, we're responsible to our customers, our limited partners. That's our fiduciary duty. And the way we've underwritten things, I've underwritten things in VC, to be honest, has not been tight. People give me Excel, the guy say 5 to 6x. Of course. When was the last time you do due diligence, you ask an FTI or an Alvarez and Marcel or maybe an EY to do it? We are very haphazard giving $500,000 check, $1 million check. And this actually goes across, even to 20 million check, 40 million check. The buck at the end stops with me. If I screw up, I screw up. So I don't want to talk about the scandal, etc. I know exactly. Don't just blame the guy who did it. Blame yourself for giving that money. So don't say, oh, their fault. No, it's my fault. I screw up. Then fix it, because our fiduciary duty is to our investor. So what I've told guys today, to investors, I'm founders friendly. I've been founders before, but never mistaken my kindness for weakness. Somebody does that to us, the first time, I'm the fool. The second time will make them a tragedy. Because this has to stop. It's our job to make sure that this environment, we improve. I get the winter, tech winter, etc. Spring is coming. Don't worry. There's places to make money. And we are always investing. We just don't tell when, you know. Our job is to tell you when we receive our first dividend and DPI to our customer. But again, what matters, the main point I want to tell here, don't blame just one side of the story. Blame ourselves, I blame myself for letting this happen. So even within AC Venture, Indies, etc., we're changing the way we're underwriting things. And we want to be complete partner with you, but we make sure also that all of this governance stuff is set in day one. So that's from my side.
Yeah. Thanks, Ming. In terms of how is your strategy changing? And quickly, and also I wanted to ask you, now that we're talking about debt, does it even make sense for growth tech companies to take debt?
So I think maybe the second question first, right? Debt and private credit has been a part of Asia for a long time, right? Of course, this buzzword come very recently, but you know, being able to provide these private loans to help the company grow in Asia, this has been there for a long time. And especially, I think Indonesia has been a big market for private credit because, you know, there are situations where the traditional lender cannot fund. But what we are seeing now, I think the growth company, as Pandu has said, there are two categories, right? One is really these more established business. Now, where, you know, when you're looking at digital transformation or trying to grow to a next level, they are looking for credit, but at the same time, they also want to get the, you know, help and guidance from the companies. And when people come to private credit, usually why they are not going to equity is, you know, of course, dilution is one thing in their mind. And then, of course, some of the entrepreneur, they are worried that their visions will be diluted as well with, you know, inviting equity. So now if we can actually combine all these mindsets together where when you have a private credit solution, but you still get a team to be able to value add and be able to guide through the whole global landscape. Because also that's one thing I think we touch upon for the supply chain reconstructions and how Southeast Asia should be the beneficiary. And now we're seeing actually a lot of the companies here trying to grow, from domestic company need to go regional business want to go global. And that's also a role that asset manager can play because we have invested across the region There's some know-how, there's some connection, the regional access, the global landscape. I think those are also advantage that we should be able to add to these companies, both taking credits and taking equity from the asset manager.
Yeah. Stefanus, two quick questions to you. One is what you mentioned last time in terms of focus areas. You spoke about the whole EV, this thing, how you, just wanted to ask in that space, how can Indonesia move up the value chain? Because there's a lot of skepticism from whether you can go all the way from nickel to the full this thing. That is one. And there's an audience question also related to what you said about healthcare. What is the rationale for INA investing in healthcare and allied sectors such as hospitals?
Okay, so the first question, I think in the past 10 years, we have seen how from one government initiative and regulation turns into massive sectors in Indonesia. I think what's happening in EV in Indonesia and the whole ecosystem, not only mining, but also some level of downstreaming has happened, right? And I think people see that we are probably one of the most successful as a country and to really taking part in building or being part of this whole EV ecosystem, and it will continue. And as I shared earlier, as you know, nickel for the key component of battery or the type of battery for EV car is not only nickel based but also lithium based. As I share with you, our first investment in this EV ecosystem is actually on the lithium base. Although we are not we don't have the material, but actually given what we have done in building the nickel downstreaming ecosystem, people see Indonesia is one of the key hubs for this whole thing. Not only nickel based. Lithium is, the raw material is from Australia, but together with the Korean investor, and also one of our clients is also a US clients, we are building this LFP cathode manufacturing in Indonesia because of few things. They pick Indonesia because number one, we are the whole ecosystem Indonesia in energy, in industrial estates, in labor and so on, we are cost competitive. We are actually at the level of China in terms of the overall cost competitive. The output from the factory is as competitive as what the LFP manufacturing in China can produce. Second, it goes without saying, Indonesia itself is a big market, and everyone eyeing for the big EV car and motorcycle opportunity in Indonesia, and LFP is one of the current choice for the medium and low price EV car, right? And number three, Indonesia is considered to be neutral as a country. So not many countries can tick all the boxes, right? Although in lithium we don't have the material, we are actually quite excited that people pick Indonesia as a hub, not because of we own the material, like in nickel case, right? But what we have done in nickel actually start helping other subsector within this whole value chain to happen to this one. And hopefully it will continue. We already have the ecosystem, we are cost competitive, and we are a natural country. So at least we have these three things. Jump into the second question on healthcare. I think I'm a bit laughing reading the question. I think it's quite clear, right, why we invest in healthcare, because probably I can easily give few points, but the two key answer is it's such a big opportunity in healthcare. It's big population in the past 10 years after the implementation of the universal healthcare BPJS, and I'm sure this is one of the largest government-led insurance in the world, has been very successful. The booming in the industry, people getting richer, the healthcare, given the current healthcare penetration in the services, in product, in diagnosing and everything, across the value chain, similar story with many other area in Indonesia, there's a massive growth opportunity given the current penetration. The issue is not the demand. It's not a demand constraint, it's a supply constraint. So that's why massive opportunity, massive demand opportunity, the issue is the supply. That's why we partner with the global company, with local company together to provide that supply. So it's a massive opportunity. Number two, we want to have our what the president say, a healthcare security. Recently, we partner with SK Korea, one of the largest conglomerate, actually number 2 largest conglomerate from Korea, to set up a blood plasma manufacturing, fractionation manufacturing in Indonesia, the first in Indonesia and the largest in Southeast Asia, with the goal to produce the plasma locally. Currently, we are 100% importing the plasma, and it's a crucial component for many different drugs, including the immunoglobulin, albumin, factor 8, and so on, right? With this facility, we can 100% fulfill the demand in Indonesia, means a healthcare security. We have a strong partnership with PMI, the Red Cross of Indonesia, and we might have a potential even to export to other markets. So that's, I think, my response to the question.
Yeah. Thanks, Stefanus. Pandu, 2 quick questions to you, both important points. Well, we briefly touched on this yesterday also. I wanted to ask your view on the whole, the EV scene here. And for the audience here also, one of their portfolio companies, Maka Motors, yesterday announced the first locally manufactured Indonesian EV bike. But how do you actually see, moving up to capture the entire spectrum in today's world on the EV space? That's one. The second other point that is, and which for a larger audience here, is also the lack of exits. And one of the things that you mentioned is fixing the capital markets, which is an issue, again, all of Southeast Asia. There's no exit. When it comes to IPOs, there are IPOs, but it doesn't give you the returns. So just your views on both these points.
Number 1 on EV, actually we start at such a low base. A bit too early to say, but to be honest, from year on year, it's about 100% growth. Well, maybe this year it'll be another 100% growth, but it's such a low base. The question is actually, will it have this, what do they call it?
Hockey stick.
Hockey stick, they like to call it hockey, but this is not e-commerce, not fintech, right? This is still manufacturing. So there's always a problem with supply chain issue related to this. So in my personal view, it's a very good business to be in. Adoption is strong. I'll give you an example. BYD is launching a car, 4-wheeler, Alphard-like, waiting list close to 1 year already for that car. So it's not a demand issue. I think it's now becoming more of a supply issue, which is a good problem to have. If you talk about Maka, for example, it's actually now the Grabs, the Gotos of the world are lining up, trying to buy that particular bike, right? So, as it progresses, the manufacturing gets better, the price point gets lower, I think the adoption will become higher and higher. And one of the big pushback is always about price. But as obviously the number of volumes go up, I think the price goes down. Number 2, on stock market. This is my passion on stock market. We have a lot to learn. This is something where I would say we're at about 1 billion per day daily trading volume. It's not good enough. Thailand is at $3 billion. India, to be honest, has been one of the best success stories. That's about $13 to $15 billion. There's a lot to be done here. And I think, when we talk to IDX, one of the big pushback, or not pushback, one thing I always encourage the management is to increase the daily trading volume. It's by far the most important thing. So for investors such as yourself that are in the private market and looking to exit, is you can have that virtuous cycle of refinancing, or what is called recycling your capital. Number 2 also, which is an opportunity that you should put, we discussed this maybe about a year ago, this is something good, is being able to buy out companies that are already public, but maybe because of float issue, etc., is deeply undervalued. Now it's easier for you to essentially buying out this business. This is not something you talk about often, but there are now cases of private firm buying out companies, going public, back to private. That's it. Talk to your favorite lawyer how to do that on doing this. Thank you.
Yeah, Ming, we are, okay, last question because I see the message on the screen that Pandu has to leave. Yes, just last question to you, Ming. How are your LPs when you talk to, you have a Asia focus and in Southeast Asia, Indonesia, how do you excite your LPs for these markets?
How do
I excite your LPs for, to invest in these markets?
What do we tell our LP?
Yeah, LPs.
Oh, LP, oh, limited partner. Okay, limited partners. What we say about Indonesia, or Indonesia specifically in ASEAN, right? 2024, early 2025 has been a year of transition. Geopolitics is top of concern for everyone, LP specifically. The way we sell it is that Indonesia, probably first time in its history, has going through a transition that not just smooth and peaceful, but also the working of the government is almost seamless, right? You have the same Minister of Finance, for example, right? Pak Prabowo was a minister before and now a president. So there's not much changes happening, and you can see it's been super peaceful. That's probably by far the most important. Number two, from a foreign policy perspective, we are taking a non-block way. So, we work very well with China. We work very well with the US. So when the president became president-elect, he went to China, obviously, to meet with the premier. And then after that, he went to the US and met with the president. And after that, had a call with the president-elect, Trump. And I think for the inauguration, we're also sending delegates to go to the President-elect Trump's inauguration. This is very important because both China accepts it, both America accepts it. And I know a lot of you are asking what will happen when Trump comes to power. We have very good relationship with Trump, the family, etc. And this is important because, Trump himself, and I'm sure you can ask many people, in a way is a business person. And that's also very encouraging, right? Being a business person, you can talk rationally, etc., and talk with the people there rationally, and being able to, in a way for us, US is our biggest trading market. How can we increase trade with the US will be a big focus of the foreign policy. So I'll stop there, but
yes, Pandu,
I cannot tell all the story, then
yes.
I don't have any more LPs because then the guys copy my pitch, But thank you, I'm sorry I have to
Yes, I know,
leave.
thank you so much. We just take one group picture. I'll have one more last question for Stefanus and Ming after you leave. Yeah, but a round of applause for Pandu for joining us yesterday and today. Thank you.
Big smiles to the camera. Which camera are we looking at? This one, is it? And behind as well. See, there's a right behind here as well?
Yeah.
All right.
Yes, yeah.
Over here. Big smiles to the camera. Well done. Thank you so much, Pandu,
Thank you. Yes. Thank
for
you.
staying on and answering all those amazing questions.
Just last question, yeah.
One last question.
Yeah. One last question to both of you in terms of, Ming, I was actually going to ask you too in terms of what are you telling your LPs about this region? Considering that you can do India, you can do Japan, Australia. So how do you, for Southeast Asia and Indonesia, what are you telling your LPs?
Oh, here. Actually, at this time, I don't need to tell the LPs. They come and ask about Southeast Asia. I think the trend is very clear, right? With what's going on globally, all the geopolitics, macros that we're looking at, where are the growths? They're asking where are the growths? And then the supply chain reconstruction, Southeast Asia is a big part. I think, one big trend is people recognize that there are going to be a lot of investment opportunities here. And of course, there are a lot of things we're still trying to work on, right? To make sure Southeast Asia stand up and up in the global investment stage. We definitely, working with, as I mentioned, the public-private side to grow the capital market, right? And then also grow the regulation side. How do we actually work all together to be able to make Southeast Asia even more investable? And then a lot of, what you're doing now on these events are very helpful. Educate the investor from outside that, the growth here and what are the opportunities here. So I think at this time with Asia strategy, Southeast Asia, we have been getting a lot of interest to see how to really invest in this market and then be able to even bring out the business either from Southeast Asia out or business coming into the cross-border element to come into this region.
Yeah. Thanks, Ming. And Stefanus, last question. We have a lot of investors in this room. How do they work, just like you signed, you're doing something together with Granite, how do they work together with lots of funds, whether PE, VC, work with INA?
I think so far how we work together is either co-investing together. It can be if you have any ideas on the investment, you want a local partner, please feel free to contact us. Or we also already have a large database of partners, the likes of Granite and other investors. So whenever there's a particular deals that we think fits certain investor, we'll call them. Second, we also create a platform. So happy to create a platform together with any of the investor. For example, we have a toll road platform. We have a data center platform and so on. And thirdly, we also start creating a co-GP structure. For example, in warehouse, specific investment in warehouse real estate, or in private debt as well. We are looking into building a co-GP structure that they can be an LP there. So many different approaches.
Got it. Will you invest as an LP into GPs?
Selectively, and it has to be, of course, there's a return target, but there's also a commercial element and strategic reason behind it, right? So, but we start investing selectively.
Yes, thank you. We run out of time. Thank you for joining us, Ming. Thank you for being here, Stefanus. Thank you for a great
Joji.
session. Yes.
Thank you,
Thank you. Yes.
Thank you so much. Good discussion.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you so much, of course, to Stefanus and Ming for that engaging discussion. Of course,
catch a train.
Joji as well.
Yes.